Between 2008 and 2016, Usain Bolt from Jamaica dominated the 100-meter dash, winning 6 gold medals at the Olympic Games and the World Championships. During that time period, Bolt also dragged along a few other Jamaican athletes to silver and bronze medals across the board as well. But in 2017, Usain Bolt won his final medal before he retired from the sport with a bronze in the 100 meters. Since his retirement, Jamaica took a step back when it comes to standing on the podium. Between 2019 and 2023, they didn't win a single 100-meter medal. But in 2024, Usain Thompson became the first Jamaican since Usain Bolt to win a medal in the 100-meter dash with his silver at the Olympic Games in Paris. But Usain Thompson hasn't actually been the most consistent Jamaican sprinter in this post-Usain Bolt era, at least up to this point. That title goes to Oblique Seville. Oblique Seville has made every 100-meter team for Jamaica between 2021 and 2024, which includes making every single final since 2022. But despite being the most consistent Jamaican 100-meter sprinter and being one of the best athletes in the world, he unfortunately has not been able to win a medal of any color at the Olympic Games or the World Championships. On Saturday, July 19th, Oblique Seville competed in his first ever Diamond League race, winning the 100 meters in a time of 9.86 seconds. This was one of his fastest times ever, and he took down an extremely high quality field, which included Noah Lyles, Letsila Toboho, as well as Zarnell Hughes, which is the 100-meter podium from the 2023 World Championships. This came just a few weeks after a dramatic Jamaican National Championships, where Oblique ran 9.83 seconds to finish second place and qualify for the 2025 World Championships. This was right after he felt some tightness and muscle spasms at the start and delayed the race for an extremely long time. But considering what he's done in 2025, the events that have unfolded, the consistency that he's shown over the past couple years, this got me thinking, what has been setting Oblique Seville back from actually winning a medal at the World Championships or the Olympic Games? And will 2025 actually be the year he finally stands on the podium and takes home a medal in the 100-meter dash? But if he doesn't actually win a medal, what does that mean for his career as an individual, but also the perception of him to Jamaican fans and fans around the world? Let's first dive into his actual career and understand what he's done up to this point.
I'm one of the top elite athletes in the world, and no one can take that away from me. It's just that I haven't delivered on the world stage, and for sure, one day it will happen.
As I said before, Oblique Seville is one of, if not the most consistent Jamaican sprinter in this post-Usain Bolt era. He's made the past 4 global championship teams in the 100 meters, which includes the 2020 Tokyo Olympics, making the semifinals there, the 2022 Eugene World Championships, making the final, the 2023 Budapest World Championships, also making the final, and then most recently, the 2024 Paris Olympic Games, where he also made the final. He has a personal best of 9.81 seconds, which makes him the 7th fastest Jamaican of all time, only behind Usain Bolt, Johan Blake, Asafa Powell, Usain Thompson, Nesta Carter, and Steve Mullings. He's also run 9.8 seconds on 11 different occasions between 2022 and 2025. But despite all the success, despite all the consistency, as I've said, he has never won a single 100-meter medal at the Olympic Games or the World Championships. And his only medal was a bronze in the 4x1 at the 2023 World Championships, earning it with his teammates from Jamaica. So this begs the question, why is it that Oblique Seville has never won a medal? Well, it's not just one reason, there's a ton of different factors. First off, injuries. He has always had injuries almost every single year of his career. Early, since he was in high school, he's been dealing with a toe injury that's prevented him from running the 200 as consistently as he would like, but it's also prevented him from training in different aspects as well.
If I don't have any issues with my toe, definitely I can take it down, but because of my toe, I have to be mindful at times when and where I run the 200 meter.
So your toe is like kind of a little aggravated?
Yeah.
Gotcha. How long has that been for?
High school days.
Oh, okay, forever.
Back in 2023, Oblique dealt with a hamstring injury that prevented him from training properly and made him miss a whole month of competition both before and after the Jamaican National Championships that year. He also finished 3rd place, almost missing the team to the World Championships in Budapest, again, because of the injuries that he had. In 2025, 2024, after qualifying to the Olympic Games, he picked up a groin injury that once again set him back from training and preparation and also from competition, which unfortunately reappeared at the worst time, pulling up in the Olympic final and eventually finishing last place with the pictures of him just grimacing as he crossed the line. Again, these have set him back in so many different ways, whether it is a loss of training, whether it is time spent traveling to get treatment and recovery from different countries, whether it is the actual injury that he faced at the Paris Olympic Games in the 100-meter final, or even just the loss of competition opportunities. This does connect with the second point as to why he might not have gotten a medal at the Global Championships: the lack of experience. Now, this may seem weird to say that Oblique Seville doesn't have experience. He's been competing as one of the top athletes in the world since about 2021 when he made the Olympic Games. But when we look at his entire seasons, Oblique rarely ever competes internationally on the circuit with other top athletes. The London meet this year was his first ever Diamond League meet, where again, he won in 9.86 seconds, and he truly dominated the field, which again included the entire 100-meter podium from the World Championships in 2023. But after this race in London, he actually explained that he's always wanted to compete on the Diamond League circuit, but the injury setbacks that we spoke about have always prevented him from actually getting the opportunity.
I've always said to my manager that I want to compete at the London Diamond League, but for each year I was constantly getting injured. So I didn't get any chance to perform at the Diamond League at all. So to coming out here, my debut and the place I wanted to run and to win is something amazing for me.
So if he hasn't been running on the Diamond Leagues all these years, where is it that Oblique Seville has been running? Well, he's primarily been right at home in Jamaica, or he's been competing in the United States relatively locally as well. For example, in 2021, prior to the Tokyo Olympic Games, he competed exclusively in Jamaica, all 7 meets. 2022, ahead of the Eugene World Championships, he competed 6 times in Jamaica and then 1 time in the United States. 2023, ahead of the Budapest World Championships, he competed 3 times in Jamaica and 3 times in the United States. Finally, 2024, ahead of the Paris Olympic Games, he competed 4 times in Jamaica and 1 time in the United States. So again, the context. Prior to a global championships, every single year, he's never competed outside of Jamaica or the United States. Now, the one caveat is that in 2023, after the Budapest World Championships, he actually did compete in 3 meets around Europe. 1 meet in Switzerland, 1 in Italy, and 1 in Croatia. But again, we're talking about building that experience leading up to the Global Championships, competing against these top guys. This is what he's been missing since he stepped on the scene in 2021. And just to hone in on this point, because it can really be a problem for him to not race against his top competition, the guys who he's going to be lining up against at the Olympic Games and the World Championships in that 100-meter final. And we can actually see exactly how many times he's raced all the top guys. This is a list of every athlete who's made a 100-meter final from 2021 to 2024. And this is how many times Oblique has raced them outside of the World Championships and the Olympic Games. 1/3 of this list, he's never raced outside of Global Championships, including Fred Curley, Letsila Toboho, Trayvon Bromell. Another third of this list, he's only raced once outside the Global Championships: Noah Lyles, Andre DeGrasse, Marcel Jacobs. And then finally, the other third of this list, he's raced at least 2 times. But there are some caveats as to why he's raced them a little more frequently. For example, Raheem Ford and Kashane Thompson, Oblique has actually been racing them since 2019 when they were all U20 athletes. Zarnell Hughes, he lives and trains in Jamaica actually with Oblique Seville under Glenn Mills, so he's going to be racing him a lot more frequently, especially during the early season. You then have Fernando Manyala, who he's raced 4 times, but 3 of them actually came in those meets after the World Championships in 2023. Akani Simbine, in the 2 times that they raced, one of them was after the 2023 World Championships, and the other one was at the Adidas Atlantic City Games. Finally, Ronnie Baker, the 2 times he raced Oblique Seville were in the United States, once at the Adidas Atlantic City Games, and then another time in Myanmar. So all of this to say, Oblique Seville is extremely fast, and he's very consistent in the grand scheme of things, but getting the experience against your top competition is absolutely key to preparing to show up against them at the World Championships or the Olympic Games. The third reason I think Oblique might have been prevented from getting on the podium is possibly pressure from Jamaica as a whole. Think about it. As I said, Oblique Seville has arguably been the most consistent 100-meter sprinter since Usain Bolt retired. on top of that, he actually trains with Glenn Mills, who was Usain Bolt's coach for pretty much his entire career. Add to that, in 2022, when he was just 21 years old, he finished 4th place at the World Championships, the first time he ever made a global final. This arguably made many people look at him as the next up, the guy to take on the mantle from Usain Bolt, to get on the podium. That was a lot of pressure to put on someone. But look at the context. There was almost an expectation for Jamaican dominance to continue in the years after Usain Bolt, even though he was no longer competing. Historically, between 1988 and 2003, at the Olympics and the World Championships, Jamaica didn't win a single medal in the 100 meters. So there was a little bit of a drought at this point. But once we get to 2005 and all the way through the Usain Bolt era to 2017, Jamaica wins 13 medals, 7 golds, 2 silvers, and 4 bronze medals. This was all led by Usain Bolt, Johan Blake, Asafa Powell, Michael Frater, Nesta Carter. They all dominated and won medals during this Usain Bolt era. And there's an argument that Jamaica and even the world to a degree kind of got comfortable with seeing them on the podium in the 100 meters. It was almost an expectation up to that point. So in the subsequent years, not seeing a Jamaican make it onto the podium between 2019 and 2023 was kind of tough, and again, put a little bit of pressure on guys like Oblique Seville, as well as an Akeem Blake, or anyone else who was really rising and making noise in the 100-meter landscape as we saw it during those times. And finally, the last reason I think that Oblique hasn't been able to get on the podium in the 100 is because of all the other talent that's been competing in this current era. And I'm not just talking about new guys who have been rising, but also experienced guys as well. Noah Lyles and Fred Curley, they had already won medals in the 200 and 400 respectively before actually switching over to the 100 in recent years and making it onto the podium. Marvin Bracey and Zarnell Hughes, they were more experienced guys who had competed at Olympic Games or World Championships dating back to 2015 and 16, but they kind of quote unquote figured it out and actually got on the podium in these recent years. You also have Letsile Toboho as well as Kashane Thompson. They are the young rising stars who stepped onto the podium in recent years as well. Again, this is just a landscape of the event, and Oblique has been there and been very, very close, but he's never been able to get over that hump because of all these different factors that have prevented him from finally getting on that podium. But as we look forward now to the 2025 World Championships in Tokyo, Japan, coming up in September, do we actually think that Oblique can finally get a medal in the 100-meter dash? Well, if we look at his 2025 so far, he's competed at a few early season meets in Jamaica, running the 200 and the 400. He then ran in the Grand Slam track meets in Kingston and Miami. He then followed that up at the Adidas Atlantic City Games, as well as the Racers Grand Prix. He then went to the Jamaican National Championships, solidified his spot to the World Championships on that team. And then most recently, he went to the London Diamond League and beat out, again, a very, very competitive field. He has a season's best of 9.83 seconds up to this point, and a 200-meter personal best of 20.13 seconds. So based on what we've seen this year so far, Oblique Seville does have a very, very good shot to get a medal, but it is not going to be easy. Let's talk about some positives and negatives and understand the implications as well as the perception on if he does get a medal as well as if he doesn't get a medal and how people will kind of look at him. First off, the positives. He has been racing a lot more frequently in 2025 against the top guys in the world. Grand Slam track, he's raced Kenny Bednarek, Zarnell Hughes, Andre DeGrasse, Fred Curley, and a ton of other guys. He ran at the Adidas Atlantic City Games like he does every year. And of course, most importantly, he ran at the London Diamond League against one of the most high quality fields that we have seen this year. Add to that, he's gotten a lot more work in running some 200s this year. Oblique Seville has a pretty good start, maybe one of the better starters on average relative to the rest of the field, but sometimes he does tend to get run down in the final meters. So running some 200s against some high quality guys in Zarnell Hughes and Kenny B, that probably is going to improve his speed endurance and prevent guys like Letsile Toboho or Noah Lyles from actually running him down. And I think we saw this on display at the Jamaican National Championships, where he was kind of closing a little ground on Kashane Thompson in that 100-meter final, or even at the London Diamond League, where he got out like a rocket and he did not lose any ground to the other guys. These are really good examples of why the 200 actually seems to be working for Oblique as the season has progressed. Now, finally, the last positive is that the World Championships is the final meet of the year, going down in mid to late September. What that means is that from now until then, let's say that something happens, he runs into some issues, he still has a good amount of time to get fixed up, to get healthy, and be sure that he's ready to compete all the way in September. But those are just some of the positives, but there are still some challenges. One of the biggest, as I discussed earlier, is injuries. He was already slightly injured this year at the Adidas Atlanta City Games, which led to him pulling out of the Philly Grandstand track meet. But even at the Jamaican National Championships, he unfortunately felt some muscle spasms and some tightness in his leg right before the gun was set to go off in the 100-meter final. Now, it did take a while to start and it was a very, very dramatic scene, but Oblique eventually did run and finish second place, running his current season's best of 9.83 seconds. But another challenge is the tough competition, and I've spoke about this in various different realms, but you have so many guys who are both young and very experienced who are going to be challenging for podium spots. You look at guys like Noah Lyles, who's lost to Oblique Seville early in the season, but then turned the tables when we got to the Olympics, specifically last year. You have Zarno Hughes, Kenny Bednarek, Akani Simbine, Trevor Brumell. They're all looking very good this year. Letsila Toboho, Fred Curley, they know how to peak at the right time when it comes to a championships. Kashane Thompson, he is arguably the most talented athlete when talking about the 100 meters right now. And that's to say nothing of any other athlete who can kind of pop up and insert themselves into the conversation and again, maybe get on the podium. The last challenge that I can see here, and I think many people might be agreeing with, is the mental aspect. There could be a lot of pressure that can get to Oblique, and I think many of us can maybe assume that he's dealt with a lot of pressure and maybe it's been a struggle to really lock in and focus when it comes to those 100-meter finals. Just like anyone else, Oblique Seville is human, so even if he is focused, even if he's locked in, even if he is one of the toughest and fiercest competitors on the track, he of course is going to feel nerves. He of course is going to be thinking back to those times that he missed the podium. Now, it's how he manages it when he finally does get to the Tokyo World Championships and he's on the line in that final. So things can go one of two ways. He either gets a medal at the World Championships or he misses the podium for a fourth consecutive year. Well, the public perception is going to be very, very interesting as it comes to Oblique Seville. Of course, if he medals, it's going to be an absolute relief moment. It's going to be relief for Jamaica as he's been the guy that they've been looking forward to, that they've been rooting for over the past, 4 or 5 years at this point. There's going to be relief for Oblique as an individual because of how close he has actually come to getting on the podium, how many injuries he's dealt with, all those setbacks that he's dealt with, and there's going to be absolute celebration if he simply comes home with a medal. But if he doesn't actually win a medal at these World Championships, this is going to be pretty devastating. We have to be completely honest. And I see this as tough for 3 reasons. First off, Kashane Thompson already has a medal at the Olympic Games. And I think there could be an aspect of Kashane kind of quote unquote taking Oblique Seville's spot. Remember, Oblique was kind of that guy coming out of the post Usain Bolt era. Kashane Thompson really only popped up in late 2023 into 2024. Remember, he did not go to the 2023 World Championships. So for him to get a medal at his first global championships ahead of Oblique, who has been competing since Tokyo at the Olympic Games, that can kind of be seen as Kashane took Oblique's spot and became the next up Jamaican before he did in a sense. But connected with that, people might start to look at Oblique, if they're not already, as a quote-unquote choker, as they do with some other athletes. There's, of course, a love-hate relationship that I think a lot of Jamaicans have with many of their athletes. You look at someone like Asafa Powell, who has the most sub-10 100-meter performances in history. He has 2 bronze medals at the World Championships. He's broken the world record in the 100 meters on 4 different occasions. He was one of the first athletes from Jamaica to choose to stay locally at home, compete and train under Jamaican coaches, and eventually see success. He has a statue standing right outside the National Stadium in Kingston. But unfortunately, many in the public see him as a quote-unquote choker because he hasn't been able to show up when it matters the most and win either gold or silver medals when many people expected him to. Whether that was 2004, 2007, even 2008, many expected him to be right there with Usain Bolt. And of course, Oblique and Asafa are not a one-to-one comparison, but considering how many opportunities Oblique has had to compete at the Olympic Games and the World Championships, and how close he has gotten to getting on that podium, if he doesn't do it in 2025, many might begin to really see him as a quote-unquote choker. Finally though, if he doesn't medal this year, that means he's going to have to wait a full 2 years before another chance to get on the podium. 2025 is the last time we'll have a championships before an off year in 2026 and then a return to the World Championships in 2027. Now, of course, he's still young, he still has time, but having to sit with that for a full 2 years without another opportunity to try and get on the podium is going to be very, very tough. And that perception that I was just talking about, that's going to stay with Oblique for this entire time period. But in my opinion, I do still think Oblique has a very good shot. And just for some context, at least some positive aspects, there's a few athletes who have actually made multiple global championships, including multiple global finals, and got a medal at one of their later championships. For example, Bruni Surin from Canada, he actually competed in every global championships from 1987 all the way to 1995, including making the 100-meter finals in 91, 92, and 93. But he finally got his first individual medal in 1995 in the 100 meters. Kim Collins from St. Kitts and Nevis, he actually competed at the Olympics in 1996, but he didn't medal in 96, 97, 99, 2000, but he finally got a gold medal in 2003. Asafa Powell, as I just spoke about, his first global championships came in 2003 in Paris. He competed there, competed in 2004. He missed 2005, but he did finally get a medal in 2007. Even if it was a bronze, that was his first medal at a global championships. And then a more recent example in Zarnell Hughes from Great Britain. He's been making finals since 2015 in Beijing, and he finally won a medal in 2023. So all this to say, Oblique Seville still has time, not only time between now and the World Championships this year, but also time in the grand scheme of things where maybe he doesn't medal this year, but there's still time in the future. But as we look forward to Tokyo 2025 coming up in September of this year, if he misses a medal, definitely gonna leave his career a little bit in flux in terms of the perception that the public will have on him. But if he does win a medal of any color, it will be absolute celebration and appreciation for the hard work that he's been putting in. He has a very good shot, and based on everything he's been doing in 2025, especially how it compares to what he's done in previous years, he does look on pace to potentially get on that podium. It won't be easy, but it can happen. Let me know what you think about Oblique Seville. Do you think he'll get on the podium at the World Championships this year, or do you think he'll be on the outside looking in another year in a row? Let me know what you think. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. Always appreciate y'all. Thanks for watching.